Good evening, everybody. I am Dr. Lisa Tritto, and I'm joined by Audrey Miller tonight. We are with Evora Medical Group and specifically Evora for Kids tonight. We're going to talk about thriving in college, focusing on nutrition and other self-care strategies. About us, I'm a pediatrician and a pediatric weight management doctor here at Evora for Kids. We're in St. Louis area. I have been in general pediatric practice for over 20 years and then left to do some specialty training at the University of Minnesota and then came here to Evora where we have Audrey, our dietitian. We also have a therapist and we have a personal trainer here, as well as other medical services like internal medicine, gynecology, chiropractic, etc. Audrey, want to say hello and introduce yourself?
Sure, yes. I'm Audrey Miller. I'm happy to work alongside Dr. Tritto. I'm a registered dietitian with Evora, and I've been with the practice for a few years. Before that, I was a clinical dietitian working in a hospital setting. And I do see peds. I see more adolescent age as well, and then primary focus being middle-aged females. Not to say that I see males as well. So I see a little mix of everyone here at Evora, and I really cater to not a one size fits all in my nutrition approach. So I'm excited to kind of talk through college nutrition this evening and give everyone some tips and tricks, whether you're a parent listening or a college age student yourself.
Great, great, great. Uh,
Thanks for having me.
yeah, this is awesome. We uh, the transition to college is a stressful one for our children. They are just, everything is new environment, new people, new food. They are really being forced into new independence, and the the habits and behaviors that they develop during this time are going to carry with them into adulthood. And so going into college with a plan can be much less stressful than going in without one. So we're going to talk about the multiple things that go into our well-being, that these are things we talk about every day in our clinic, whether we're dealing with weight issues, as many of my patients are, but even without weight issues. So we're going to start off. I'm going to talk about one more thing, and then I'm going to let Audrey talk about nutrition in college. So I wanted to address the freshman 15 because everybody worries about the freshman 15. And actually, it's more of a myth. Only about 9% of college students will actually gain 15 pounds in college. And the average weight gain is more like 3 to 7 pounds if they gain weight at all. About a quarter of students actually lose weight in college. So if this is something that's been haunting you, just know it's not as common as we all think that it is. And in general, we just talk about overall wellness, and these are really the main four components of that. It's what we eat, how we move, how we sleep, and how we manage our stress and our mental health. So speaking about nutrition, we do have research that shows that having a balanced diet with fruits and vegetables actually is associated with feeling better. We also know that having sort of a poor quality diet can make us feel worse, more tired, anxious, more prone to illness. And again, as I mentioned earlier, just establishing these habits early can set us up for success going forward. And we also know that college environment does have limitations as to what's going to be available to our kids. And so, again, having this plan in place and knowing what your options are will be helpful. All right.
So jumping into the nutrition.
Mhm.
I'm so glad that you put in the freshman 15. It's something that I've kind of been removed from for a while, but it is something that I forget that we talked about back in the college age. And it's crazy to think that it is still talked about. So, kind of myth busting there is excellent. And also know that these pillars of health are a segue into young adulthood too. So, like nutrition, sleep, physical activity, stress, and mental health awareness. These are things that if you establish now, they're going to carry with you into your adult years too. So it's the kind of coming of age moment, and it all starts with this independency more so into um, college age. So I hope parents will take this and kind of praise this one slide because the ultimate priority should utilize your meal plan. Okay. So I think a lot of universities and colleges are structuring their dining to really enforce a meal plan at this time. At one, or maybe sometimes it's optional, but this is I know a lot of money that goes towards the dining hall. So kind of navigating this approach as a freshman is very important. Again, kind of going back to the mentality that you're on your own. This is your independent time. You can make all these choices now for yourself. And it can be overwhelming, especially when you go into these dining halls, kind of like this picture where you have maybe different like ethnic cuisines available, or you always have a salad bar, a pizza bar, dessert bar. There's just so many options there, more so than what you would have for dinner in your own household with your family. So navigating the dining hall, I think the first thing first is to forget the all you can eat approach. Yes, you're paying, I don't know the details usually, but I think you're paying by meal. You kind of badge in or swipe in, but it doesn't necessarily mean for your health that you need to treat this like a all you can eat buffet. And you might in the beginning, but maybe you kind of tire out later once you realize, okay, it's like the same cuisine that's served every Tuesday or whatnot. So just kind of ditch that approach right away and still have this bridge of transition from how you ate at home into how you can eat on your own with friends now in the dining hall. I really am going to emphasize 3 meals a day still. It is so cliche for a dietitian to say breakfast is like the most important time or the meal of the day. But it truly is, especially with any sort of academic achievement. If you're having morning classes, you have to fuel yourself before you go into those classes. Um, and also think about it this way, it's much larger campuses. You are expending a lot of energy, more walking, more navigating the campus. And so you could tire yourself out pretty easily before you even get to class. And so setting your day up at the very start of your day is setting you up for success. So my tips kind of for utilizing the dining hall right away at breakfast include both eating in the dining hall, of course, giving yourself time to get up, wake up, get ready for the day, go to the dining hall, sit, and then whether you go straight to class or whether you go back to your dorm, you have to navigate that for yourself. So that's an option. Or just utilize your dining hall or utilize your meal plan for some grab and go, whether that's yogurt and fruit. I mean, you could pretty much always guess that that's going to be available at breakfast time. You can probably always guess that there's going to be a cereal bar. Maybe there's an omelet station. Again, you'll have to navigate what's offered for you in your hall every day. But my second biggest tip is to always pair your food groups together. So rather than just getting cereal and milk, I'd rather you get cereal, milk, and an egg. So something that combines carbohydrates and protein together. And that leads to just more satiation or feeling full or satisfied. So that can keep you driven all through the morning until you get to your next meal, like lunch or dinner. Hopefully lunch. And then for lunch and dinner, you could probably always guess that there's going to be a salad bar there. Um, That's pretty typical. So, finding that's going to be your best source for just increasing your fiber, getting your fiber intake for the day, getting your vegetable intake for the day. Fiber is something that keeps you fuller longer. And of course, it aids in digestion and it lowers cholesterol, which is more important for, later in life. But even if you're struggling with higher cholesterol right now, I mean, it's good to focus on fiber regardless. Um, but the salad bar, so top with protein, add, if they have some lean meats there, like turkey, chicken, something like that, even a fish option like tuna, that is something that, again, kind of going back to the two food groups, you're adding some protein with some veggies. Perfect. To make it even better, I would add some carbohydrates there too. And that's pretty easy to do. I mean, you could probably guess there's going to be croutons or something crunchy. Maybe you just get fruit on the side. Again, ways to increase your fiber. There are some detrimental components to a salad bar that could kind of add up quickly. And that would be like always choosing creamy dressings, bacon bits, like mayonnaise based salads that are there. It's okay to have those things occasionally, but the more that you can choose more of the fresh options, the better. And it just doesn't stop at the salad bar. I think once you navigate the dining hall too, focus on the whole foods. So there's probably always going to be a hot lunch or hot dinner. See what they have. Maybe you want to top your salad with the protein that's available, or maybe you don't want salad, but you like the veggie that's offered. This is kind of where you can pick and choose in that buffet setting. But again, it's more of like a homemade prepared option that is typically balanced. Like those chefs behind the scenes, they are balancing your carbs to protein. It really comes down for you to monitor portion size a little bit, which we will dive into a little bit later too. Sometimes with your meal plan on I've seen on college campuses or universities, they do include, or maybe if you have like extra bucks, as they call it, they do include sometimes like a fast food option on campus. And those would be the things to really navigate away from and maybe kind of treat those as such like a treat. We want to avoid the fast food options, or just in the dining hall in general, not always choose the fried options. They may always have pizza. They may always have like a fried chicken or something, or chicken tenders, like more of like that grill option. But again, just kind of navigating what you would have for your own dinner at home or your own lunch is something that home lunch, I should say, is what you should be kind of gravitating for. And that also leads to, having 3 meals a day avoids kind of going towards vending machines or processed foods, kind of the snack bars at coffee shops within the campus as well. So, 3 meals a day, ultimately, the slide takeaway: 3 meals a day. Utilize the dining hall when you can. Your parents will love it. Parents, you'll probably love this too. And when it comes to more of like dorm staples, we'll go to the next slide and we'll figure out what's more available for you if that's something that's an option. Some people don't have that availability to keep things in their room, but we can navigate that next. So, affordability in dorm room staples, navigating the budget. I'm going to recommend that you practice this now. Practice this at home with whatever budget that you plan on having at school. So, whether that's some sort of job that you have on campus and you kind of navigate what you're getting paid, that goes towards your grocery bill, or your parents are kind of setting up like some sort of allowance for you. Whatever your budget is, of course, everyone looks a little different. Utilize some of that now, or don't utilize it, but practice what that money is now so that you can go to the store with your parents, navigate a grocery store if you haven't before, and start to practice picking out your staple grocery items. And in terms of what your grocery items are, I do have some here listed, which are more shelf stable, things that you can keep in the dorm. But if it becomes a little bit more strategic, like you know that you have a communal kitchen, we can work together to figure out what your shelf stable items or what your grocery list is going to look like. That may vary from someone who doesn't have a communal kitchen in their dorm. So practice now before you even go to the grocery store. And this is what I encourage with my adult clients too. You have to plan a little bit. I mean, it could take maybe 10 minutes to just figure out your week. So lucky for you and your schedule at college, you know what your schedule is. You know if you have a um, later class time. And if it cuts into dinner, then we have to navigate what that looks like. If it cuts into lunch, same thing. So look at your schedule for the week and say, okay, I don't want to go to the dining hall every single day, but I do kind of want to make something in my microwave or my air fryer or in my communal kitchen X amount of times a week. Maybe it's two. So you have to navigate, okay, I need 2 meals from the grocery store. Or I'm kind of running low on snacks and I don't want to always go to the snack bar and be tempted by what's there or the coffee shop. Let me get some staples to have on hand. So make a plan now. And then the second tip is to make a list. This avoids overspending greatly if you have a plan. And let's be real, there are temptations going into the grocery store when you're hungry and when you don't have a list. You tend to gravitate towards things that probably aren't the best for you. So here are some of my tips and tricks, things that I do myself post college and kind of implemented during my younger adult years. Use a digital grocery list. If you're a digital person, I highly recommend this app called Samsung Food. It used to be called Whisk. It's beautiful because I can keep this ongoing grocery list. I think there's other apps out there that do the same. I can uncheck the things that I already have in my fridge. I can repopulate it back in. The cool thing about it too is that other users can create an account for that same grocery list. So if you have roommates in your dorm, everyone can contribute to that grocery list. And whether you're splitting up those groceries together, that's kind of nice. Otherwise, other tips would be utilizing what your grocery store, what their brand has to offer. Schnucks, for example, is great because they have a app which gives you coupons and rewards Deerbergs as well. But it gives you some recipe inspiration. Schnucks, I know, has a tie with dietitians, so they kind of give you a health score, which is awesome. Another thing that I rave about with Samsung Food, let's say you had like an overabundance of broccoli around, kind of unusual in the dorm room, but let's say it is broccoli. You could type in broccoli in the app and it'll show you every recipe that has broccoli. So then you can utilize it before it goes to waste. But for college age, I mean, utilize the coupons, use the reward system, find the store that's in your neighborhood or closest campus so that you can utilize that to the best of its ability. And then even to this day, avoid buying kind of the big label brands and just buying the store brands. You can save a lot of money that way too. And it's just a private label. So really it's typically a brand that you've heard of before, but then the grocery store pays for that to be covered and have kind of their own brand. And then it's cheaper. So that's a good way to kind of avoid overspending too. Here are some shelf stable items that are just great to have on hand. Whole grain bread, pasta, crackers, all of those being whole grain, that's going to increase your fiber. Fruit cups, and fruit cups could be packed in water. They'll stay um, not as fresh as fresh fruits. Well, fresh fruits will go bad earlier, is what I'm trying to say. So the fruit cups are great to have on hand. Canned or dried beans. Beans are easy to kind of open a can, put them in a microwave bowl, heat them up, mix them in with something. Even just getting dried beans, like snacky type of roasted chickpeas or edamame are great. Natural peanut butter, not getting the sugary type, kind of looking for lesser added sugar there. And then I know the what's fun on a Saturday or a Sunday with whoever your roommates are is kind of utilizing something local in your town. So shopping seasonally is great. You can utilize farmers markets. I know I kind of put this little canvas tote here. They're all the rage right now. Get something that motivates you to reuse a bag, kind of my plug for sustainability there, and get out and utilize what is offered nearby. Going into some nutrients next. Parents, this is probably great for you to know, but teens as well, or young adults, just kind of getting into the nitty gritty of nutrition. So, protein, very important, really important for muscle growth, keeps you fuller longer, aids in recovery, especially for any sort of athletes that are working towards it, working with an injury. Preferably, it should come from lean meats if you're a meat eater. So rather than red meat, fish, of course, and eggs, dairy, tofu, more of that plant-based protein, legumes. Protein should be at every meal. And if you're having a snack, it should also be in a snack as well. Carbohydrates, I would think big energy here. So something that fuels you. So again, top of your morning, I would have some carbohydrates with protein, and never just skip a carb completely. Have more whole grains like your cereal, low sugar cereal, crackers, whole grain bread, English muffin, things like that. Even fruit counts as carbohydrates, cow's milk, starchy vegetables, whether you have a little bit of potatoes or something like that in the morning, or throughout the day. Those are all things that give you energy. Healthy fats. So avocados, nuts and seeds, olive oil, fish, these are all very heart healthy, very important. If you look at number 1, 2, and 3, these are what we call your macronutrients. They should be consumed pretty much at every meal. Some ways to have more heart healthy fats. Typically, we don't have an issue getting these in, but sometimes the issue is eating too much of them. So you could add nuts to yogurt. You could use olive oil when you're cooking instead of doing butter. Just some little tips there too. They're really crucial. Healthy fats are crucial for brain development, which is still very active during this time, going into college especially, and hormone regulation. So really good for females to make sure that they have their heart healthy fats as well. I highlighted really big here, calcium and vitamin D, super, super important at this age. And ways to get it would be like low fat dairy, like milk or yogurt. You can even get, calcium from leafy greens. And I think the most important thing to note about this is that it should still be prioritized during this time to achieve to achieve peak bone mass in college age. And then later in life, this further prevents osteoporosis. So, quick example, or just like a little snippet. We are so focused on drinking milk at home, I feel like, and then we go out on our own into the wilds in college, and that kind of stops. And it really just shows how important milk or getting your calcium and vitamin D is. So don't give up on your milk. If you're a milk drinker at home, at family dinner, seek it out in the college world too, because it really is still important for you if you can tolerate it. And then the last nutrient here, um, iron. And we get this from lean red meats, lentils, fortified cereals, spinach. If you choose more of like the plant-based options for iron, like spinach, you will need a little bit extra support for absorption, and that would come from vitamin C. So if you're going to have spinach, and that's your main source of iron, let's say you don't eat meat, then I would pair that with, something like an orange or bell peppers or something like that, that kind of boosts your absorption and makes it intake a little bit quicker. Iron is really good for transporting oxygen, so it prevents fatigue. There is a higher need for teen girls and athletes to get in more iron as they have natural like iron loss during those years. And then just going into your typical plate and how it should be built. Again, really going to focus on pairing two food groups together for better satiety, making you feel fuller. So take your pick here. That would be great. And this is ideally what your plate should look like. At least 2 meals a day. So this used to be the food pyramid, which we no longer teach. And this is what we call the My Plate. So the My Plate is so great because it shows you the food groups, but it also shows you portion size. So um, majority of your plate, vegetables, if you can see that. The grains as well, super important. Protein is really only like a quarter of your plate. You still need a little bit of dairy. So following this My Plate is going to take you to navigating the dining halls, navigating you to the grocery store. And once you pick out each food group, then you kind of place it on the plate, and then you should be fuller, longer. Some tips for also just like smart nutrition, eating mindfully. So avoid distraction. There's a lot of distractions that could happen in this college time, whether it's, eating in the dining hall with friends or a big group and it kind of gets carried away, or eating in your dorm with the TV on, maybe working, doing homework while you eat. Avoiding distraction is going to help you the best. And then some other tips too with smart nutrition, like looking at the food label when you're in the grocery store and a session with me, we definitely navigate that. So there are some strategies that we can go into, and doing research beforehand too. So if you do seek out one of those fast food or chain restaurants that's available on campus, just know that a lot of the chains now are required to put their nutritional information online. So do research beforehand. If you know that you're going to go treat yourself because you finished finals or whatnot, do a little research and look up your favorite meal or what you intend to purchase and consume, and see if that's best serving you at that time. Tips and tricks for navigating that: choosing more baked foods instead of fried, swapping out the veggies or swapping out French fries for veggies, choosing more lean meats like chicken or turkey or fish besides the red meat, and then avoiding sugary beverages if you can. So going into beverages, which is such a hot topic, I feel. We can get so carried away with sugary beverages, especially going back to that independent time, navigating like away from milk, at this age, and not having someone to enforce drinking water or milk at home. And then instead, you always have this fountain soda available in the dining hall. So as a reminder, if you look over here at the ages 14 to 18, this is your hydration need at this age, and then it carries you into adulthood as well. 88 ounces, this is about 11 cups of fluid, which seems like a lot, but let's also be honest and say that kids are now in the rage are these reusable water bottles. So it shouldn't be that unattainable to get that much. The issue is the temptations that, and Dr. Tritto, I know agrees. The temptation is these caffeine beverages that are kind of targeted to this age, or sugar sweetened beverages, or kind of like the pink drink at Starbucks, things like that. That's kind of the biggest barrier during this time. So just know with added sugar that, and this is coming from the CDC, it should, for people age 2 and older, they should limit added sugars to less than 10% of their total daily calories. So, based on a 2,000 calorie diet, no more than 200 calories should come from added sugars. Well, if you look at this little box right in the middle, one 12-ounce can of regular soda contains about 10 teaspoons of added sugar. That's like 150 calories. that would be your limit. But ultimately, simply saying this is just not recommended. We are not recommending by any means to have any sort of added sugar. Especially because we know added sugar isn't just contained to soda. It's found in other things like breakfast bars and dressings and packaged items. It's really kind of sneaky. And ultimately, we call this like empty calories. There's nothing, no nutritional benefit there for you. Um, so anyways, you'll kind of see the plain pasteurized milk, 14 to 18. It's no different than where it was at 9 to 13 years in age, 24 ounces up to. So I think any parent or any dietitian or any pediatrician doctor would be okay with you having a glass of milk, not three, um, rather than not having it at all, especially just to get your intake in of calcium and vitamin D. And then just to leave you kind of with some advice for peer pressure and social influences before we get into a little bit more with Dr. Trito. Um, as you explore food in college, just remember that everyone comes from a different background around the table. So whether you grew up having family dinners or you were food insecure, you had food aversions, or you're healing from a disordered eating pattern, it's okay to be curious, especially with new individuals, new lifelong friends, but definitely not a time to be judgmental, again, because you're meeting a lot of new people with a lot of different backgrounds. And I'd rather you just use or encourage you to use food as a way to connect and support each other and learn from one another, learn their different ethnic cuisines or learn their different methods of cooking. So nourishment really does look different for everyone, and that's okay. I really encourage you to try new foods with roommates, which is really, really fun. Create themed dinners, so keep eating exciting and just enjoy your nutrition. Really encourage that. And then my last slide that I'm going to leave you with, feel free to screenshot this. Highly encouraged here. Just some kitchen staples, breakfast ideas, lunch ideas, dinner. The kitchen staples are pretty much everything that was mentioned before. Just some little tips like choosing a low sodium, lightly salted. Choose things that are more readily prepared. And breakfast items, all of these things could be made in your dorm. If it's available for you, put on a paper plate, trash it, things that you don't have to really clean up with. If you have more of a communal kitchen, these lunch and dinner ideas are a little bit easier for you to kind of navigate through. But like I said, screenshot, make a grocery list, figure out your week, and then go with some of these options and work with a registered dietitian if you need one too. We can create more ideas than just this. So thank you for having me. And I'm excited to kind of hear what Dr. Trito has to say about the other pillars of health as well.
Yeah, thanks, Audrey. Just such great information. And yeah, it's like I said, good to have a plan. To have a plan.
Yes,
Plan,
absolutely.
what's that saying about fail to plan or plan to fail? Something like that. Anyhow,
It'll get you, right?
well.
Every time.
All right, great. So I'm going to move on and I'm going to talk about, so we talked about eating. I'm going to talk about physical activity, the importance and what we recommend. Um, Physical activity is not really just about weight. In fact, it's about pretty much everything else. It helps reduce our stress. It helps us do better in school. It helps prevent weight gain. It helps with your mood and your sleep and your focus. And if I could only prescribe one thing to all of my patients, it would be physical activity. I counsel all of my patients before they go to college um, to really make it a priority. And there's statistics here that if you look at high school students from the Youth Risk Behavior Survey, that only about half of them were getting the recommended amount of activity. And if you look at adults, about 80% are not getting what the recommended amount of activity is. And this is just another sort of visual of the survey and how many people are meeting recommendations. So from 2023, they're saying that 25% of kids were getting 60 minutes a day, and 23% were getting enough sleep, which we'll get into too. So this is what's recommended for really adults and going forward. So, I mean, for the rest of your life. So if you can start to establish this habit now, it will only serve you well. I mean, just can't stress it enough. So, sort of at minimum, it's recommended that you get about 150 minutes, up to 300 minutes a week of something moderate. So that's like walking enough that takes a little bit of effort, or riding a bike, or playing on a team. Uh, you could also, or instead, if you're a runner, high intensity exercise sort of counts double. So half of that amount, 75 minutes a week of high intensity exercise, counts as sort of your aerobic exercise requirement. But not only aerobics, but muscle strengthening, weight lifting is also recommended for everybody, starting now until forever. Working on muscle mass will only help with our long-term health, longevity, and so on. And then in addition to that, a step goal also and can be helpful to make sure that we're getting enough movement. So I like to say that 5,000 steps a day should be your minimum, like that's your lazy day. And, up to 10,000 steps on a regular basis is going to serve you well. Recently, there are some studies that show that 7,000 steps a day is actually probably fine, but I think, more is better in moderation. Then there's this other type of activity, which we call NEAT. It's basically movement that's not intentional exercise. Like I'm not going to the gym, or I'm not walking for fitness. It's just all the other things we do during the day that actually, burn calories and improve our health. So that can be things like walking instead of driving. If you're on a big campus that has transportation like a bus, like still walking instead. Or if you need to talk to a friend, you need to relieve some stress, go for a walk and talk instead of sitting on your bed in your dorm room, taking stairs instead of the elevator. When you're studying for long periods of time, if you've been sitting for 45 minutes, 50 minutes, get up and take a lap around the library or walk up and down the hall. Your brain needs a break too, so it can kind of process all the great information you're trying to cram in there. And then, make use of apps and smartwatches and that sort of thing to help remind you to kind of get up and move around. So, like I was saying about planning ahead, so if you're making a plan, will help ensure your success. And remembering again that this is not about weight, it's about your overall health. So when you get on campus, like find out where the gym is, find out where the track is. Um, Look for club sports or intramural type of sports. They're all available all over the place. And look for things that you enjoy. It does not have to feel like a chore. Look for things that yeah, that bring you happiness. In addition to activity, another problem that students will have, if I can make this forward, is sleep. So 60% of kids college students say they have poor sleep quality. About a quarter will say they have trouble falling asleep. And remember that sleep affects how we do in school, how well we memorize things, how well we concentrate. It affects our mood, our ability to fight infection. And when we have poor sleep, we tend to have poor eating habits. Um, we tend to move less, and even has been linked to smoking.
Probably just a lot of poor decisions that are tempting during college,
Exactly.
more than smoking, too.
Yeah. So, so what are the usual issues for college students? One is that your sleep schedules can be rather irregular. So maybe your class starts at 8 a.m. on Monday, but your classes don't start until 2 p.m. on Tuesday. And so that can lead to irregular sleep cycles or sleep schedules. Being on your phone or your computer before bed can interfere with the quality of your sleep, your generalized stress. Um, Whatever's going on in your dorm or your roommate. So maybe they have the lights on, or maybe it's noisy. Drinking coffee or caffeine containing beverages close to bedtime can interfere with your sleep, and drinking alcohol close to bedtime also can interfere with the quality of your sleep and staying asleep. So recommendations are that you get 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Um, Keeping as consistent of a sleep schedule as you can is helpful, meaning trying to go to bed at the same time, wake up at the same time. If it's a weekend, as most sleep experts will say, try not to sleep more than 2 hours past your wake up time, your usual wake up time, to keep your body in a good rhythm. I know that's easier said than done, but if that is your goal, you can sort of work towards that. Again, I talked about caffeine before, just trying to limit that in the afternoon, avoid alcohol, try to get off of your screens and establish some kind of a bedtime routine that is more calming and relaxing. And then maybe have some supplies on hand in case you are in a noisy, loud, bright dorm. Having an eye mask or earplugs, or listening to white noise on a phone app, having blackout curtains, all those things can help um, your quality of sleep. And then finally, if you're napping, try to keep those naps nice and short, 20 to 30 minutes, set a timer so that you don't go into those deeper sleep cycles, because that can then also interfere with your usual sleep cycles, make it hard to fall asleep later at night, and you could really fall into a pattern where you're sleeping all day and not able to sleep at night. So nutrition, activity, sleep, and then finally, our last sort of pillar of health was our stress and our mental health, right? So, 75% of mental health problems have developed by the age of 24. So we want to try to not get there. But surveys have shown that up to 60% of students actually meet criteria for some sort of mental health issue. So everybody, it feels like, is dealing with something. And this also is going to affect how you perform in school, how much energy you have, and so on. So what can you do? So that I try to identify what resources are available to you. And I'm going to just list over some things that maybe you knew existed, maybe don't. It's something to, again, plan ahead, seek out, look at your college website and see what's available to you. And then when you get on campus, also explore these things. A lot of your stress is going to come from how well you're doing in your classes. So if you have any issues with learning, with time management, seek help and seek it early on. There are resource centers on campus that can help you. And again, it sort of will overall reduce your stress. If you have any kind of what's considered a disability or a problem or an issue with learning, that could be ADHD, it could be depression, it could be anxiety. If any of these things affect your ability to pay attention in class, to finish exams on time, you can request accommodations, particularly if you've already been receiving accommodations in your high school years. So if they were allowing certain things in high school, you might have to have a form filled out showing that you were receiving accommodations. Or if you got extra time on your college entrance exams, those kind of things can be used as evidence that you may need extra help. So connecting with those services now, even before you leave for school, is a good idea. Some things that what they might offer to you, there are things like having you're able to get your professors slides could be sent to you if you have trouble like taking notes in class, or you could have extended time for exams if you request it. So those are some things that are available to you on campus. Other things would be like there are peer support programs there, so you can talk to someone who's closer to your own age. Maybe they're just a year or two ahead of you who understands what your stresses are like and can offer some resources and just someone to bounce things off of. They're usually easier to get into than sort of your typical therapist. There are often religious or spiritual groups on campus that can just be a soft place to land. They may have quiet rooms or small group activities, and they're not going to try to convert you to whatever their focus is. And it's a nice, can be just a nice escape for you as well. And then don't forget about your teachers, the faculty. They all have office hours. They're all available to you. They'll give you their email address, and it can just be somebody, who can listen to you if you're really struggling with something, and they sort of may know, a quick entry into other resources that you might need. So don't forget that you can talk to them as well. If you're also like not sure about your major or what you're going to do with your life, the career centers can be a good source by helping you sort of determine if you're in the right place and heading in the right direction. That can help reduce some of your stress. And then some people, will have issues with food insecurity, having enough food to get through the month. And we have already heard about how poor nutrition can make us feel worse. So often schools may have a food pantry on campus, and some even have dietitians on staff. So those are things that you can seek out as well if you need to. And then finally, there are telehealth services, mental health apps and some schools will have free or discounted subscriptions to these programs. So you can seek that out. In fact, I would say in college, if you're about to pay for anything, an app, a subscription, look first and see if there's a student discount, because often there is. Things like YouTube TV have substantial discounts, or so yeah, I would look into that before you purchase anything. And then finally, some campuses will have things like therapy dogs around, which really can boost your mood and improve sort of your good feeling kind of hormones. And then I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't at least mention alcohol and drugs, which are going to be readily available to you on campus. And just to remember what alcohol does to your brain, makes it harder for you to concentrate, harder to make good decisions. Binge drinking can lead to some serious accidents, to assaults, to trips to the emergency room. So just, be mindful, do things in moderation, have a plan, have a buddy if you know you're going to be using alcohol, like make sure you have sort of an accountability buddy who knows where you are. Try to avoid those drinking games, because that can lead to a lot of alcohol in a very short period of time, which then leads to these other things that I was mentioning. And make sure that you're not getting in the car or operating a car when someone's under the influence. Use your campus transportation, or call your campus security if that's what you need to do. And then finally, this was just like a reminder about, use technology to help you. The smartphones and apps, and this is the Aura ring. These can help with sleep, and I've listed some sleep apps here that you can use. The Apple Health app does so many things. One of them is tracking your sleep. So if you're kind of wondering why you're so tired, you open up that app and see where you've been at. And then these are some apps that can be helpful. So Sleepio is one that is really an evidence-based program that helps people who are having trouble with their quality of sleep. This Pizziz is something that does particular music, or it could be the ocean or whatever. Calm, most people have heard about this one. It has meditations or sleep stories, things that help you get to sleep. And then this white noise one is one that you can use if you are trying to drown out your roommate. And then these are some other apps also that are more designed for stress. Again, that Apple Health app has things where you just kind of check in with yourself throughout the day. Just sort of identifying what you're feeling can kind of decrease the stress by just putting a name to what is going on in your brain and in your body. Headspace, a good one for mindfulness and meditations. And then there's these other two on here too, Insight Timer and Mood Mission. So wrapping up, good nutrition, fuel your body, have regular movement, make sleep important, do what you can to manage your stress. Know that stress is normal. Sometimes just acknowledging that you're feeling stressful and that's okay can make the stress less upsetting. Uh, but if you are struggling, get help soon and early, and having identified what your resources are can make this like so much easier for you. So yeah, that's a wrap. So this is just a summary of what we do here at Evora for Kids. Like I said, I do weight management for children, teens, young adults, college-age students. With Audrey, a registered dietitian, as you have just heard. She's a great resource if you are struggling, or even if you're not struggling, you just want a plan, like you want something to help you um, move forward, and then someone to check in with periodically. Audrey is your girl. We have a therapist here, and we also have personal trainer here in our office, and we yeah, that's our team. And then these are all the ways you can find us on social media. This video will get posted onto YouTube, and you can see us on all of the above here, Instagram, Facebook, etc. All right. Thank you all for joining us tonight, and thank you, Audrey, and
Yes. Thanks for
have
having me.
a good evening. Bye.
Bye. Thank you all.